talking a little about the history of the sitar, it comes from Persia. Sitar originally means an instrument with 3 strings, but now sitar has evolved to have about 18 to 21 strings. It has a tumba which is made of a fried pumpkin, and there are certain pockets in India that actually craft these beautiful instruments. There's Miraj, there's Kolkata, and a few other places as well.
Let's talk about AI in music. Are you afraid as a musician?
Make Calcutta relevant again. You already know. Say.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Make Calcutta Relevant Again, the podcast. Today we have with us a very special guest whom you've probably seen on your Instagram feed at some point of time. Let me present to you Swayam. Swayam, welcome to the show.
Hi.
And
Meghdut.
this is the first time that you're appearing on a podcast. What are the chances? So, first things first, why did you decide to say yes to this podcast?
For the longest time, I have been behind the screen. I have been making reels. I've been making a lot of music. But I thought it was high time that I put myself outside of the screen. And that's the reason I'm doing a tour, an India tour. Mm-hmm. It's a 12-city tour where I'm going live and playing the sitar on stage. And what better reason to actually, do this and talk to people and show who I really am through a podcast. So, yeah.
Amazing. So, who is Swayam? Let's start at the very basis of it. If there was something that you had to tell the audience, which they normally would not know from just following your channel, about your feed. We know about your cat. We know about your beautiful collection of ear cuffs. We know about the fact that you play sitar on screen. But who is Swayam the person?
Apart from being a musician, a lot of people don't know this, but I'm also a designer. I do have a collection of about 80-90 plants at home. And the outfits or the ear cuffs that you see, some of them I make them myself. Because I come from a design background, and whatever content that you're seeing on my Instagram, a lot of that is curated with a lot of thought put into it that comes in from my design learning. Yeah, I think that's one of the facts that my audience usually would not know.
So aesthetics obviously forms a very important part of who Swayam is as a person.
Absolutely.
How did this love for design start?
I come from a very small city, Bhubaneswar, and I grew up with a single mother who is an architect, and she had a very creativity at home was fostered. It was not just encouraged. So she would, bring in all kinds of resources that I needed to flourish as a creative kid. Do you know of this show called Art Attack?
Of course.
Yeah. So
who grew up in India and did not watch Art Attack?
Correct.
It's such a great show, yes.
So I would literally watch every episode of Art Attack and make something every single day. And my mom would make sure that I have all the resources to make that. That's where the creativity journey started, and it just sort of kept on growing. And I just wanted to get to this college called NID. And
this
that's
college
how it all
called
happened.
NID. Gents, ladies. What a humble boy here. NID, obviously, the National Institute of Design, is the best design college that we have in our country. And it's the equivalent of what an IIT would be for engineering or an IIM would be for management. But how has, growing up in a small town, to a single mom loving architecture, to being a phenomenon on the internet, tell me about some of the big highlights of that journey. Things that when you look back on your life, you're 28 years old? Yeah. So in the 28 years, out of that, I'm guessing 25 of them, you've been fairly sentient and you know about stuff that's happening around you. You have a recollection of those things. What are, let's say, a few of those moments which really stood out in your life when you look back and you're like, wow, that really shaped me?
Right.
In terms of moments, what would those few of those moments would be?
I would actually date even further back. I was born in a even smaller town called Barampur, which is on the coast of Odisha. It's further down towards Andhra Pradesh. And I was brought up by my grandparents for the first 5 years. So they're both teachers, and we had, that kind of an upbringing where I was constantly surrounded by a lot of students around me. And they brought in that, that angle of culture and, what it means to be an Odia as well. Mm-hmm. And then I shifted to Bhubaneswar, where I started my schooling and got introduced to a lot of these, the art and craft side of things, and also music. And my cousin sister, she used to play the violin, and that used to inspire me a lot. And I was like, I also want to be this cool and I want to learn a musical instrument. So one fine day, I told my mother that I want to learn the keyboard, and we went ahead with it. Although initially she was like, what's the benefit really? Are you going to, get anything out of it? But I was like very persistent, and it was all internal. It did not come from her. But yeah, we went ahead with the keyboard. I learned that for about 2-3 years. And interestingly, I would explore a lot of these Indian sounds on the keyboard. So I was naturally drawn to the sarod or the santur or, the harmonium. And I would play those sounds on the keyboard instead of playing
Western stuff,
yeah, or like guitar or, and that's when I said, you know what, keyboard is not doing it for me anymore. I want to transition to an Indian classical instrument, find a guru, and have a proper talim. And that's when sitar took its... Actually, before the sitar, there's an interesting story. I was more drawn to the sound of santur. But Bhubaneswar being a very small town, and santur comes from Jammu and Kashmir. So we did not find any teachers. So that was a limitation, and sitar was the second choice. So sitar made its entry into my life. And parallelly, while musical journey was going on, NID also happened. So I was put into a very new environment, a creative, open environment, full of all creative people. And I was also allowed to pursue music on the side. So that was another turning point. And after NID, Microsoft, when I joined Microsoft as an
Was that your
employee, as a
first company?
Yes.
Okay.
It's been my first and last company. I'm still working with Microsoft. That's where I interned. I took a full-time opportunity there. And
how do your colleagues at Microsoft react to your, let's call it newfound success, because it's not been that long, that people, but how do they react? Do they ask, free tickets for
passes?
shows?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course,
and
yeah.
interestingly,
Doesn't change even if you're at Microsoft, yeah? Free passes too.
Absolutely, 100%. My manager, in fact, was there for the Hyderabad show. He asked if he can join, And I was like, yeah, I'd be happy to put you on the guest list. He was there with his friend, and I'm hoping that he'd take off some of the workload after coming to my gig. But they are very, very, very supportive, and they make sure that I have enough time to, devote this to this part of my life.
Okay. What kind of a kid were you when you were in school?
Right. So, as I said, my mother, she's a single parent, and I'm a single child. And she was a working lady, so that would mean that I would be home alone a lot of the time during the day. So that naturally meant that I had to be very disciplined and also very independent as a child. So that naturally made me a little shy. I won't lie. So I was a shy kid. I think I'm still shy. I'm an introvert. But at the same time, I think that discipline, I think that is what I learned during my childhood. And discipline, and to also be able to do multiple things at once and have that equal amount of focus.
It's very rare, I think, that somebody young growing up in a small town decides to pick up an Indian classical instrument. I think maybe the reason for your success to a large extent has been the fact that it's something that came out of you. Yeah. And it's not something that was pushed down your throat by your parents, for example, in most cases. I mean, I learned Indian classical music as well. I'm a terrible singer, but it did build a lot of character within me. I've grown appreciation for it. And if you understand classical music, I think it also increases the way you look at music, the way you look at world music in general, because you realize, wow, I come from a country which has perhaps the most special, way of looking at music, the way of doing music. But also, in our country, we've had a lot of people making Indian classical music in the same kind of way for donkey's years, right? And I'm not saying that it's not good, of course, but the relatability for young people to, get latched onto that kind of music is probably very low. Where do you fit into this whole journey?
Yeah, I do agree that the way classical music has been presented has remained a certain way for a certain number of years, but I think I also see a lot of potential in the way it can be presented, in the way newer audiences can be drawn in. And I'm seeing that happening already. There are a lot of artists who are trying to do that. And my effort is also the same. My effort is to attract newer, younger audiences into classical music, into sitar, into a lot of other Indian classical instruments as well. And there are multiple ways to do that, actually. Like, one way is, you hook them in with something more relatable that they relate to. and eventually you educate them on little aspects of Indian classical music that onboards them gradually, or you say change the soundscape of classical music while staying true to the roots of classical music. For example, you can still play a rag, you can still play rag todi, but you can have it fused with an electronic guitar that also plays rag todi, or you can have teen tal on, let's say, djembe that a lot of artists are doing, or drums. So that's one way to improvise and to take it forward. The other way is, let's say, when you talk about content on social media, right? So you can bring in relatable pieces like known songs, familiar songs, and hook them in onto the track that the song is based in.
Because a lot of Bollywood music is also based off of ragas at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Like, for example, this series called Bandish Bandits, that did brilliantly well because there are these. There's this famous song called Garaj Garaj.
You played that. I think
Yes.
I shared Garaj Garaj as well. That was
Yes.
probably and you played it brilliantly.
Thank you.
What do you think you did differently from what Purbayan did with the original song, as opposed to what the version of it that you did online?
Right. So, Garaj Garaj is based on a bandish. I took that bandish and made it into a gut on the sitar, and I improvised it like a gut. So, a gut is essentially a piece on which you can improvise and you can show the beauty of the rag. You can build on top of it. So that was my attempt, at least.
Okay. If you had to explain that to your grandmother who has never, gone to music school for one day,
Right.
How would you explain that?
Okay, so a gut is like a riff, a phrase, a small phrase that keeps on repeating itself, but you can repeat that in n number of ways with your own improvisations, with your own touch, your own flavor, right? And that is where the aspect of classical music comes in. That is what elaboration or improvisation is in classical music, wherein you take a certain phrase, you play that or you sing that n number of times, but in n number of different ways. And through that, you're showing the beauty of the rag.
So, obviously, a lot of thought goes into everything that you do. It's clear, from the plants to the lighting. I don't know if it smells really good in that room also. I'm guessing it does, because I would be surprised if it didn't. There's also the cat, who is not a paid actor. We know now it's your cat, Poki. Yes. There's a separate fan base for the cat. But all of those things, it takes meticulous planning, and that's why I guess your background as a designer comes into play. You're designing the whole experience for somebody coming into it. From that same brain, when you look at popular music and stuff that gets billions of views, right? And you see how human beings normally function, what do you think? What is it that goes on inside Swayam's mind when he sees popular music that panders to the lowest common denominator of the audience, so as to speak?
I think it's great. Popular music is great. I strongly believe that classical music can be sort of, you can also leverage on pop music to sort of build on classical music. You can use pop music to also attract a lot of younger audiences into classical music. A lot of artists are doing that already. For example, what I do on Instagram is I start with a very popular song, and then I immediately play that for 10 seconds and switch to classical music, which is also based on the same notes. So that's one way of going about it, and you can draw in newer audiences through pop music into genres that are not tapped into yet.
If there is one artist that you would love to collaborate with in India or abroad, across any genre at all, who would it be?
Right now, A.R. Rahman for sure.
Yeah.
Have
you DM'd him? Have you DM'd him?
No, but I got a follow from him this year, and that's been like the highlight of this year for sure.
Nice.
Because I've looked up to his music since I was a kid, and a lot of my work is actually inspired and derived from his work.
Of course.
A lot of the a cappella format videos that I've done is a lot of his songs actually.
Of
and,
course.
Breaking
Before
down.
you started doing sitar, there was a lot of those. I also remember the COVID a cappella videos. That's what started off your content creation journey.
Yeah.
Back then, did you realize that you would? I mean, was the sitar always part of the bigger game plan, or it's something that naturally happened?
So sitar was also happening parallelly, but during COVID, I was actually lonely. was in Hyderabad. I was working for Microsoft, but and I decided to not go back home, and I continued to stay in Hyderabad and to work on like my home. I had a lot of plans. I got Pookie, and then I also started to work on music. But again, this just went out as a hobby. I did not really intend on making this bigger at that point of time. It came out of the need to jam with other musicians, but because of COVID restrictions, I did not get to do that. So what I would do is I would create these a cappella tracks with those 8 frames, and then the 9th frame would be me playing on top of that track. And I just kept on doing that, and I got a lot of love, and it just organically, grew. And I just kept on changing the format based on whatever I wanted to express, and it still keeps on evolving.
So a cappella came first, then came sitar. What's next? Is there another version of Swayam that we will see?
Yes, absolutely. You're going to see a lot more of my original compositions, which I have not shown to my followers yet. You will get a glimpse of that in my live shows as well. I'm
Okay.
trying to bring in a flavor of what Swayam is like through music on stage through these original compositions, which are again very rooted in classical music as well.
So now coming to your shows, you've already done a few shows. I'm guessing a few more left. We're in that space. How have you seen your live audiences react to the person that they've only seen the myth of on screen? Right, at the end of the day, we end up deifying people we see on the internet a lot.
Right.
And then they say, "Oh, you should never meet your heroes because you shall be disappointed." Do you think you've disappointed your audiences, or do you think that you've done well and they've gone back with a good memory of who Swayam was?
To be honest, my audience is the best judge of how I've been performing on the shows. But having said that, I think till now I have gotten a very heartwarming response, especially, after I complete my set, after I get down from the stage, I get to interact with the audience.
Of
I make
course.
sure that, the audience interaction is a part of the event as well. And there are just so many heartwarming responses. I've known of people who have actually attended a show in one city, and they've made sure to travel to another city to catch my show again.
The repeat customer. Yeah?
The repeat customer, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was someone who attended the show in Vizag, and this lady, she decided to fly down the next morning to attend the Hyderabad show the next day, which is just so heartwarming. There was one more girl who got her family all the way from Mumbai to Hyderabad, all 7 of them in Hyderabad to attend my show. And and even the kind of response that I get, like people do get emotional at the end of the show. They come up to me saying, we have seen your content for so long, and it was really nice that you decided to come to a tier 2, tier 3 city and do this for us. So that's really, really heartwarming.
Is there a difference that you see in between the reaction from audiences in tier 1 cities versus tier 3, tier 4 cities, for example? You probably haven't done a show in a tier 4 city, but say
Right.
tier 2, tier 3 versus tier 1?
It's the tour is too fresh for me to be able to say that. I need to, I think, complete the tour to be able to better comment on it. But yes, I think in terms of the kind of events or the kind of shows that do occur in tier 2, tier 3 cities, the frequency of that is very less. And that is something that did come across very clearly. The request to do more of these kind of shows in tier 2, tier 3 cities. And we do plan on doing that as well. Like scaling to Goa, to Bhubaneswar, to Indore, a lot of these places which we have not tapped into at all.
Very interesting thing I've been thinking since you spoke about having sort of an intimate conversation with your guests at the end of a show. It's probably not something that most classical musicians would have done back in the day. There is a certain sense of a hierarchy between the performer and the receiver that has been the norm in most forms of classical music, not just Indian classical, I think most forms. But if you look at dance music, for example, on the other side, it's always been a co-creation activity, right? That somebody's playing, but in good sets happening, you don't even know where the DJ is. People are just there to dance, and it's more of a community feeling that you have with it. You're kind of putting classical music somewhere in the middle, where you're co-creating an experience, an intimate experience with the audience, and you're breaking down the barrier of, okay, I am performing, I know more than you, hence, and you're here to receive, to like, okay, we are all in this together, and that's the intimacy of it. Was there a particular reason why you started doing this? Was this intentional? And that's the first part of the question. Second would be, do you believe that you'd still be able to keep doing this for a longer time? Because at some point, a lot more people will hear your music, and then it'll blow up, and then there'll probably be thousands of people at your shows. It might not be as easy to do. So how do you plan to deal with that?
I try to approach everything from a problem solving point of view or a design point of view, wherein you have a problem and you solve it through design. And that is the attempt even here, wherein I'm trying to curate an experience that my audience feels more connected to. And I do realize this gap, that the one that you're talking about, wherein classical music has been presented in a certain way and there's a distance between the performer and the artist. And there is a need to bridge that, is what I feel personally, at least coming from the younger side of things, to be able to attract that younger audience, because classical music feels a little intimidating if you're not initiated into it. And that is where I want to bridge that gap. I want to be more approachable. Couple of ways how I'm doing that, during my shows, you will actually catch me asking people to count what teen tal is, or take guesses if they know what the rag is, take guesses, or take, tell me songs that are based on the rag if they have heard of that rag or of that song before, or even sing along to some of the relatable pieces which are classical based. So those are some of the ways, and one of the ways is also interacting with the audience. And there are a lot of people who want to get initiated into classical music, but they don't have the means to, they don't know how to, they don't know where to get an instrument, they don't know how to find a guru, and that is where this interaction becomes very, very important.
Now, coming to a global context for classical music, thankfully, because of how emotionally riveting classical music can be, even if it's a little bit intimidating, we've always seen classical music being held at a very high regard, irrespective of what kind of a musical background you're from, globally speaking as well. Where does Swayam fit into that global Indian music piece, if there is at all any intent of doing it, and how would you approach that problem to solve?
I feel like sitar as an instrument is extremely expressive, and I think it can easily find a spot in the global soundscape, be it classical, be it semi-classical, be it rock, metal, jazz. I think that is where sitar stands, to be honest. How I want to approach this is by having a very strong classical foundation, and by extending the tributaries a little bit of everything, but staying true to what the roots are, staying true to what the grammar of classical music is, and also at the same time onboarding that younger crowd into classical music.
Beautifully said. Beautifully. Why Calcutta? What was this? I mean, we are on the Make Calcutta Relevant Again podcast, and I guess at some point somebody might even ask, you're not from Calcutta, you're not somebody who grew up in Calcutta as such, but the first ever podcast that you were on was the Make Calcutta Relevant Again podcast. Tell us a little bit more about your connection with this city.
First of all, I have a very strong connection with Calcutta. The first ever metro that I visited as a kid was Calcutta. My mother used to work in the East Coast Railways, and she would visit, Calcutta very frequently. And that's how I got introduced to this city. That's number one. Number two, my guru, Sri Ram Prapanna Bhattacharya ji, he is from Kolkata, even though he's based in Hyderabad now, but his roots are in Calcutta. So that's a strong influence and a strong connection as well. Thirdly, there are so many instrument makers in Calcutta, and I've gotten my Shurbahar made from Calcutta as well.
See, he pronounced Shurbahar perfectly, yeah? Not Surbahar, he said Shurbahar. Very well done.
Yes, absolutely. So Satyaki Sen Gupta, he created my Surbahar beautifully in Calcutta. And lastly, on Instagram, data-wise, if I go by numbers, the highest following is from Calcutta.
Of course.
So that tells a lot about the audience of Calcutta and how musically inclined the audience is. And that is why I wanted to bring a special show to Calcutta as well, and do my first ever podcast with you.
Awesome. No, I'm really glad that you chose that podcast. But tell us a little bit more about your relationship with Calcutta currently? I mean, I do know Pushpak is a dear friend and has been on the podcast before as well. He's the one designing your costume for the Calcutta show. And I know that there is deep affection that you have for the city, but how has it evolved for you? How has the Calcutta story evolved for you? And what do you think about, I mean, also to enhance on that bit about, you have a lot of followers from Calcutta. Right. Do you see a distinction in the kind of audience there is or in their musical taste? Do you think it's a naturally more evolved musical taste that people have in the city?
Answering your first part of the question, you know, I already mentioned that, you know, the highest following comes from Calcutta in my profile, and naturally I got connected to a larger community in Calcutta digitally, and that's how I met a lot of these people, Pushpak and Ognik and Thanai, and a lot of these creative people who are based out of Calcutta, who are helping me in my journey. We have become friends over the years, and you know, they have just all come together to help me put together this show. And the show is a very big show, by the way, and people have been working really, really hard on putting together the show. So Pushpak is doing my outfit, and a lot of other, Ognik is doing my outfit as well, and a lot of other people, got your back events is helping us out with a lot of logistical things. Make Calcutta relevant again is helping us with a lot of things. I think that community is just really special here in Calcutta. Now, talking about the audience base, I have seen that Calcutta is very passionate about Bengali music. And that is where I get a lot of requests to play a lot of Rabindra Sangeet or even Bengali songs as well, for that matter. And I will definitely try my best to deliver more of that. But yeah.
By the time that this podcast comes out, I guess we'll be able to add some segments of him playing that music live as well onto the reel that comes out, I guess, or so that people know that what you played at the show. But have you actually heard a lot of Rabindra Sangeet before, or some of these things that people are throwing at you as in terms of suggestions?
Right. Not particularly, but I have heard a few of the Bengali songs.
Okay.
Which I will make sure to cover as well and play at my shows.
Mm-hmm. Now, coming back to design. Now, in terms of the fashion part of it, you have always put out a version of a fashionable Indian male who is very tied into an image which is essentially very Indian, mostly. 90% of all the content or the stuff that you're wearing while you're at it has been very global Indian almost. It's like, it's still quite like modern, but still very Indian. Is there a particular reason behind it? Even what you're wearing today, I mean, it is unmistakably Indian, although it's like a shirt and pants, but the way that it's been styled, etc. as well. I also do like, you know, I also like wearing some nice Indian stuff and presenting myself in that image. But what was your idea with which you started dressing yourself up like that?
So, you know, if you're a designer, you can never stop being a designer.
True.
And whatever you do, that aspect just kicks in. Like,
I'm not even a designer, and I still agree on that. You can't stop thinking like a designer. Yeah.
I'm sure. So, you know, even the reels that I'm creating, the kind of lighting or the kind of color correction that it needs to have, that comes from that kida of being a designer, you know, or even the framing, or even the way the light has to fall on my face during the event, on the show, the lighting, the carpet, whether the carpet goes with my outfit.
Nice.
All of that kida comes from being a designer, and naturally, yes, what I wear, it just comes with being a part of designer. I don't think I put active, you know, deliberation to the fact that, okay, I have to be a fashionista. No, it's not like that. I just like dressing up, and this is how it just manifests. So yeah, I mean, the ear cuffs are a part of it. I try to make some of them myself. Since I come from a product design background, I try to make some of them myself. I design them, I style myself, and that's what you see on screen.
Wait, why the ear cuffs? I never asked you this. What was the initial idea for having ear cuffs?
So how it started. So, you know, on my reels, I usually tend to do a side profile.
I have noticed, yes, always.
Right. And I wanted to elevate the framing, the visual of it a little further. And how do you do that? accessorize yourself, you accessorize the frame, the lights, and this was one way of doing it, and it just stuck to me. I just felt like myself while wearing this, so why not do it? Why not give it a shot?
How do you think Swayam would have existed, or in what format do you think Swayam as a person or a performer would have existed if you were born 50 years back and not in the world of social media?
Right.
Out of syllabus question coming
Absolutely.
in for Swayam. Yeah.
I have never really pondered on this
Think
aspect
about,
of it.
Think about it.
Right. I think, first of all, at that point of time, we had very different kinds of sitars. You know,
Kinds of sitars.
very different kinds of sitars. The way the sitars have evolved is commendable. Because of the technique, the way the sitars are made, the sitars also sound different in the current age.
Do you want to elaborate on that? That can be a very good segue for
Absolutely.
our audience to understand how sitars work, for example, and how they've evolved in terms of craftsmanship.
Absolutely. So the sitar, talking a little about the history of the sitar, it comes from Persia. It's so sehtar is the term, and that sort of evolved into this form of sitar that you see currently. Setar originally means an instrument with 3 strings, but now sitar has evolved to have about 18 to 21 strings. So how it works is it has a tumba, which is made of a dried pumpkin, and there are certain pockets in India that actually craft these beautiful instruments. There's Miraj, there's Kolkata, and a few other places as well. Historically, the sitar did not have as much sustain. With more and more newer techniques of making the sitar, of crafting the sitar, of newer machinery coming in, the sitars have also become more refined, and they can produce a sound that is longer, that has a longer sustain. So back in the day, the way you would play the sitar was actually very different. If you listen to Ustad Inayat Khan or Ustad Imdad Khan, the right hand strokes are very fast, and the means or the pulls, they're not as sustained. So that technique or the playing style has also evolved a lot with time, and the introduction of Gaiki Young, you would have heard about Gaiki Young. So all of that is very new, very, very recent.
So when do you think that this change happened? Like in the last 10 years, 20 years?
Yeah, I think I would say around last 30 to 40 years.
Okay.
So Ustad Vilayat Khan, he brought in this Gaiki style of playing, which is like
Explain Gaiki for somebody who would not be initiated.
So it's a philosophy. So it comes with this gharana or the school of music called Itawa Gharana, and it basically uses this philosophy of using the instrument as an extension of your voice. So what that means
Literally
is
Gaiki, like how you would sing. Okay.
Absolutely. So that doesn't mean that you play the instrument like the way you sing. It's not as flat as that. It's more nuanced in the sense that the way you would render a rag vocally, similarly you would render the rag even on the sitar, but also drawing in the nuances of how a vocal cord would produce that sound, bringing in those intricacies of let's say a meend or a murki, those little accessories that come in while you sing. You bring those accessories into your playing style as well.
Amazing. And how would you have propagated your music if you again were born 50 years back? Sorry, I keep going back to that because it's so fun to do a time traveling situation in your mind, right? At the end of the day, in India, if you look at time, it's a very circular concept. Everywhere else in the world, you get born and then you live your life and then you die. But in India, it's circular, right? And we say that we have reincarnation and it happens. So in India, we are born with the idea that time can be flexible and you can perhaps pause time with music, which is, for me, music is perhaps one of those things that makes me forget about everything else in my life and my eyes light up and I get very, very excited. Being a musician, it probably has that perk. You can probably change time in the lives of the audiences that you're interacting with. From having that privilege, what would you have differently, perhaps, if you were born at a time when social media did not exist?
Right. I think what I would have done at that point of time is more collaborations. Like I would be doing a lot of classical music, but I would also collaborate with a lot of other artists from other genres, like let's say jazz. Or Pandit Ravi Shankar did a lot of that. He collaborated. He put sitar on a pedestal. He took sitar out into the globe, and he did a fantastic job at it. And collaboration would be the right way to go to make classical music more relevant, more accessible, and increase the reach further.
Let's talk about AI in music. I don't know if this is something that you had on the cards, but in 5 years from now, I'm guessing, even though we're not at the time where AI music is as good as it could be. I'm guessing in 5 years, maybe 2 years, 3 years later, somebody could prompt a nice song and use it, quantize it well enough for it to be sound superhuman, and then there would be no difference between Swayam 1 original versus Swayam 2, which is an AI. Are you afraid as a musician?
The value of live music is never going to reduce or never going to die. It's only going to go up with AI music coming in. So not at all scared.
Not at all scared.
Not at all scared.
And also, I guess, what actually changes with so much AI coming into our lives is probably the idea of this community that you're building, right? Your community pushes you to grow. It supports you. It helps you do a live tour, even though, you've not been a musician for that long. So many people across the country are buying your tickets to go and watch you live. It's because they feel like they're part of Swayam's community of people that love him and that care about him and, care about his cat. How else would somebody know? Imagine, a whole while back, nobody would have known that you like plants, you like cats, and that forms a part of your personality.
Correct.
Today, it's possible for people to know, so they feel even closer to you, feel even closer to being part of that community. And if you keep that sensation alive, no AI can replace that, right? No matter what happens, they won't feel good after coming out of a concert and having had this interaction.
Absolutely. I see technology as only a positive thing that has happened to bring music to everyone's lives. Music was not that accessible back then, like people would go to concerts only through word of mouth. I mean, that was the only way to advertise concerts. But today we have social media, we can broadcast, we can put posters out, and it's just like available, right? So it's become a lot more accessible, and I think through social media, you also get to showcase your true personality. And I think that just really, really helps your audiences to connect with who you are as a person apart from a musician on stage.
Do you think you're still learning?
I am still learning. I mean, there's nothing to think about it. I still go to my guru's place every week.
Okay.
We still do classes, and I'm learning there. I'm learning in design as well. I'm still working, and every day there's something new to learn.
Is your Guruji proud of you?
Yes, he is. In fact, he promoted the Calcutta show. I was really, really happy to know that, and
so
he
cute.
congratulated on me being able to do a successful first tour, and he's very proud. And I can't wait to resume my classes with him again after the tour is over. So
does he also perform?
He does. He
publicly?
does. Yeah, he performs in Calcutta quite a lot actually, because this being his hometown, and even otherwise as well.
Do you sometimes have conversations with your Guruji on the Guru Shishya Parampara in India? Or
Yes.
Yeah? I'd be very curious to get a sample of a conversation with your Guruji.
Right. So he, as an artist, he's also very modern. He's very forward-looking, and I draw a lot of inspiration from him in the sense that he knows how to balance two things really, really well, really effectively. He has an IT job, and apart from that, he's also a sitarist, and that is where I think he understands the importance of that distinction. And let's say if you're not a full-time musician, you don't have the liberty to spend, say, 5-6 hours in a day for your riyaz, which, say, a full-time musician would get to do. So naturally, as a part of that, since you're getting only that 1 hour slot in that day, how do you make the most of that? How do you make it the most effective? And that is where he has helped me quite a lot. And it's more of a mentorship now, we discuss about things, we discuss about ideas, ragas, and, that's the equation right now.
Yeah, so he's become even more of a friend, if I dare say it.
No. I mean,
Swayam does not agree on this, because Guruji is going to watch this. Be like, nope, we're not friends. There's still Guru Shishya Parampara. Let's not forget.
Right,
That's going to be important. Let's talk about Pookie. What's the story? How did that happen in your life?
So the other day, actually, I do follow a lot of these animal pages, and one of the pages put out a story saying, there's this kitten, and she's looking for a permanent home. And I saw that she was so playful. She was a ginger cat. She was just hopping around, running around, chasing like a piece of thread, and that just drew me in, and I just went to meet her. And one fine day, I just decided to take the step, and that's how she came into my life.
Who's fostering her now?
Right now, she's with the original rescuer.
Okay.
So she's being pampered all day. I get her videos every single day for 3-4 times.
And are you paying back with the concert tickets to the original rescuer? Thanks.
Yes, you can say that.
It's an easy commodity to pay people back by live experiences can be great way of saying thank you to people.
Yes, absolutely.
Who's been the most significant surprise in terms of people who've come to visit your show that was not expected?
Again, I think I would go back to this lady. She actually made me very emotional. I was doing this show in Vizag, and honestly, from Vizag, I don't have much following, so I was not expecting the turnout to be this big. But
How many people turned up for the show?
I think around easily 150, more than 150. The hall was full, and interestingly, only 10 to 20% of them were my followers. So I do this Q&A in the initial, part of the event wherein I ask how many of them already know me. So there were only 10 to 20%, and rest of them were new. Yeah, and out of that new crowd, there was this one lady who felt so connected to that Vizag show that later she came up to me, and she had come with her son, actually. Her son is the one who got her to the show, in fact. So you can tell that a lot of younger people are attending the events. And this lady, she decided to fly down to Hyderabad the next morning. I had the show in Hyderabad at 4 p.m. the next day. So that was really, really touching for me. And I just did not expect that. And even in the Hyderabad show, she's like, I'll catch you at the Calcutta show.
So maybe we'll see her.
Maybe, yeah.
Is there a particular festival that you aspire to play at?
For now, I think I want to focus on my tour because I think it is important to showcase who I really am as a musician. So I want to do that for a little longer, maybe in the form of another tour. You never know. And then we'll see where we can get.
But have you gotten requests to play at festivals or at shows where other musicians are performing as well?
Yes, we do get inquiries for a lot of public and private events, but we have not acted on that yet because we are, very occupied with doing this tour. So we are going to get onto that after the tour.
In terms of your design activities at Microsoft, what are you designing now? What are you working on? Things that you can talk about publicly.
Right. So do you work on Word, Excel, and PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm one of the designers responsible to make the user experience better.
Okay. How do you make it better?
So you have to think of how, what are your workflows like? What do you do as a user? How do you use those products in your everyday life? And what are your challenges? What are your problems? What are the opportunities that the app can solve to make you more productive in the day, in your work life, outside of your work life? And we are constantly working on bettering that experience, making you more productive during the day through those products.
I think one thing that sticks out for me in everything that Swayam speaks about is, one, he's got a clear vision of what he's meant to do, and I think it's hard to. I tried to move you away from the track a couple of times. It's really not working. He's really focused on that, and it's good to see, young people. I say it as if I'm very old. I'm not that old, but still, you're a little bit younger than me. It's good to see young people moving forward with a lot of dedication and almost razor sharp focus. But another thing that strikes me is perhaps your need to optimize things around you.
Yeah.
How did this happen? What is this need to optimize everything?
Oh, interesting you ask. I think that's how I've just grown up. Being a single child, you just have to be very independent and very focused on what you're doing because you don't have a lot of support, right? So you have to make sure you finish your homework. You have to make sure you, go play, or you have to make sure, I learned how to cook as well. So I used to cook at that point of time as well. And
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Anything good? Anything notable?
I used to bake a lot of cakes, but
Not bad. Yeah.
no, now I have lost touch.
You've lost touch.
Yeah.
Did you feed it to some other people who can say also that you actually baked a good cake, or it was just
Yeah,
you?
yeah. No, I made cakes for my mom for her birthday also.
Okay. So your mom was happy, right?
Yes, yes,
Then the full
100%.
part. But we don't know with moms. It's like
Yeah,
even if it was terrible, they would say, no, great, well done,
Right.
good job on the cake.
Right.
But did you make your friends try some cakes?
Not that I can recollect, but I'm sure
We don't
I would
know if
have.
he's a good chef, guys. It's he's saying all this. We don't know. Nobody's ever actually tried a Swayam cake. If Swayam was to stop being a sitar player and a product designer, could he be a chef? Could he be a baker? We don't know. There might be other, maybe an ear cuff maker. This might pick up
100%,
enough to become a big rage.
A jewelry designer.
A jewelry designer, why not?
100%,
Yeah.
yeah.
And also the kinds of jewelry that young people wear today has broken out of a lot of mold. I think India, in terms of its design language, is so vast and so beautiful. I mean, also from the north to the south, east to the west, there's so many different kinds of design languages that we come across, so many motifs, so many things that to incorporate into things that you wear. Like even the thing on your hand is, it could be Greek, or it could be Indian.
Yeah.
I guess it could not be from too many different places, right? But like what you're wearing on your ear is definitely very, very Indian. I think anybody from anywhere in the world sees that, they'll be like, yeah, that seems like an Indian jewelry piece. And the more that representation grows, representation of young people in global media grows, the more that young people around the world would want to have some pieces like that. So I think if you're selling this for a couple of thousand in India, you could definitely sell them for 200-300 euros in Europe, for example, right? So who knows? Maybe it's a parallel career line that you start. And if you ever do, remember that I have told you this on the podcast, that I would be willing to invest in that and push that out to a lot of people. Hopefully we'll be wearing an ear cuff myself for the show tomorrow.
I would look forward to that.
Yeah, but Swayam, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. We spoke about everything and nothing and all of it in between. And what really strikes out is, what strikes me or what stands out is your absolute dedication to your craft, to being true to what the music deserves at the end of the day, and not getting, it's easy to get drifted away, right? When you get attention, when you get fame, when you get offers to do things that are not really your core, it can be easy to look elsewhere. But you don't seem like that kind of person at all. You really want to hold on. Banglaয় বলি আমরা আঁকড়ে ধরে থাকা. Like really, bite down on the ground and continue doing what you're doing. So
100%.
on that journey, I wish you all the very best, and know that you have a lot of supporters here in Calcutta. You already know that because of your numbers, but real life supporters, a lot of people here to support you on that journey, and may you grow into the Swayam that you aspire to be, and the Swayam that the world deserves.
Absolutely. Gonna come back to Calcutta again for another show very, very soon.
Another show and another plate of biryani, hopefully.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, ladies and gents, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Make Calcutta Relevant Again, the podcast where we bring you stories of people from Calcutta, people who love Calcutta, people who are doing incredible things, young people who are changing the way that we look at our city, the way we look at our country, and we'll keep bringing you more stories like that from Swayam. Till then, this is Meghdut, your host, signing off. Cheers. See you on the next one.
Make Calcutta relevant again. You already know. Relevant again. Make Calcutta relevant again.